Hello and welcome to another edition. This is a flash edition, we'll call it, of the I'll Drink to That pod. I might drink to that, but I'm here with my sons. They won't be drinking what I might be drinking, but so it is Memorial Day, so shout out to all of our fallen veterans who have served this country. Carson's adjusting the mic if you hear any sound, so because he decides to do everything after we start. Right, Carson?
Yeah.
I did have a laugh track.
At least I know my password.
Hey, that's not my problem. So
It kind of is.
no, it's your brother's.
It's kind of like it's like a 70-30 split.
You're just never gonna let it go. So,
Nope.
so we'll just talk about a couple of things tonight. Roland, say hi.
Hello.
Up on the mic.
Hello.
Yeah, that's good. Project.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. It's like Ross and Rachel's friends. Hello.
Yeah.
In Vegas. So.
Hello.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we would like some more alcohol, and we would also like some more beers.
Maybe that's our alcohol and beers.
Yeah. Right. So the first thing two things we'll talk about tonight. The first thing is, Cole, get ready. What in the world sucks about San Diego? So until Cole comes on a pod and comes to Memphis, it's not an or, it's an and. So you have to do both. So we're going to say people on Reddit threads and Reddit boards say there's a large military complex in San Diego, so that kind of sucks. They also say there's lots of drugs in San Diego. Any thoughts? Huh? Anybody?
No.
Why do I feel like the miracle worker over here?
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, lots of drugs. San Diego State sucks. How about that one? The Aztecs?
Yeah, they lost in the national title game because they suck.
Yeah, they can't suck that bad. Oh, we got the Miami-Boston Game 7 going, and there's lots of long faces in Boston, not just because they're fat.
It's so delightful.
Yeah, so anyway,
so
that's a few things
serious?
that suck about San Diego today. Love that Joker. Right,
Love
Carson?
that Joker.
I'm going to pull that sound effect just to throw it in. So let me pull up the little web link or website I have here. So the main thing we wanted to talk about, if these two would get their hands off each other.
My bad.
Okay.
We're not doing anything.
Enough. I don't want to parent on the pod. It's fucking stupid. So last night was AEW's, I guess, quarterly pay-per-view.
Yep.
And it was Double or Nothing live from Vegas.
Yep.
There's a couple of matches we won't talk about just because Roland is a sexist and doesn't like the
Yeah,
women's
Rolly
matches.
hates
True.
all women's
I don't
matches.
talk about them.
He went to shower during the women's matches.
It was one, okay?
Out of two.
Okay, we'll give it a little bit of airplay here. So Jamie Hayter fought Tony Storm.
Yeah.
I heard it was 4.
It wasn't much of a fight. They pretty much beat her to. They beat.
Yeah,
Jamie
they
Hayter
beat
to a
up Jamie
pulp
Hayter way before. So
before
it was,
the match, and then
Yeah, it was kind of a
Tony
BS
Storm
match.
won.
So,
It wasn't much of a match.
at least the wrestlers in that match, and I would say this about a men's match too, because there are always a couple of bad men's matches, but that was those women at least knew how to wrestle. The other women's match was Jade Cargill against Taya Valkyrie.
Yes.
It's like they found them at some kind of dance studio in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Those two didn't know how to wrestle for shit. I mean, it was like watching two idiots just get up there and it's like, hey, swing at each other, and the swing misses by 2 feet.
Yeah, it
or
was
something
not
like
good.
It was so bad. I don't even know how one of them is a champion.
Yeah, Jade Cargill. That was her 60th win too. 60-0.
But the redeeming part was they brought out Chris Statlander
Returning.
because Jade's idiot manager said she will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, and so basically turned into Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And Statlander came out and whooped her ass.
Yeah. So now Jade Cargill's 60-1 in AEW.
Yeah. Didn't Jade used to date Shaq or something?
Yeah, no, he was like part of her act when she came to AEW.
Okay. So that was like part of her claim to fame.
Yeah. That's what they used to promote her when she first got to AEW.
Right.
So are we starting at the beginning now?
Yes.
AEW?
So the first match was the 21-man Blackjack Battle Royal for the International Championship, featuring Orange Cassidy and a bunch of other people. So, what was your take on that match?
It was...
Roland, you can say something
It
too.
was very average until the end. The final 4 was good.
Yeah.
The last 2 were Swerve Strickland and Orange Cassidy, the incumbent champion.
And the other 2 was Big Bill.
Yeah,
who was the
Big
fourth
Bill
guy.
and then Pentagon or Penta LC. His name has changed multiple times. But one of the
Penta
other half,
El Zero Miedo.
yeah, the other half of the Lucha Brothers was the fourth man.
Right.
So obviously, people kind of expected, obviously Orange Cassidy was going to be in the Final 4, and then, Swerve Strickland was a heavy favorite coming into this match to be one of the finalists. But the other 2 were a little bit surprising, especially since they both got their time in the limelight during this match. Because the big thing with Battle Royale matches is about who's going to get the most limelight throughout the whole match. And
Right.
the Lucha Brothers got a lot of a lot of attention in that match, and
Because Penta and one of the other guys were in there for a long time.
yeah, I mean it makes sense because they were AEW World Tag Team Champions and they're a pretty big act within AEW, but they haven't really gotten that much traction as of late. So it was nice to see them. And then Big Bill was the biggest surprise I thought of the Big 4. I mean,
He showed some skills.
Yeah, he's not bad. I'm pretty sure he was a champion with Impact previously. He was
also in WWE.
Yes, he was in WWE, formerly as Big Cass, I believe is what his
Yes.
name was, and then now he's Big Bill. So yeah,
He looks
to
like
see
he
him-
could be like if Orange Cassidy and he were twin brothers, but Cassidy's like the small one.
Yeah,
Big Bill's like the big one that wears the jeans and he's big and tall.
yeah.
And Cassidy's like, he's strong, but clearly it's like they are
A
not
little of
identical.
mice and men.
Right. It was a little bit of that. So, Rolly, what was your thought? Up on the mic.
I agree with Carson. It was average in the middle, but I think the start was pretty good, eliminating all the scrubs that they had in there.
Yeah, it was pretty slow. We were sitting there going, okay, hopefully this picks up. But then by the time, even when it got down to the final 7 or 8, it started to really pick up
Yeah,
because they started to take each other on. And it just was like when there were about 15 or 16 left, you had about 12 of them laying there on the mat.
yeah. It started off very slow. The middle part was very slow, but the ending was good. One thing I was surprised about is that Ricky Starks was, I think, the 6th to last person out. I was expecting him to be
Right.
down there in the final 3 or 4. He was even a guy that people thought might win it because he's had a lot of traction lately and he's a very featured wrestler in AEW. But they used that match with him more so to build his rivalry with Juice Robinson and Switchblade Jay White. So, which is good. It's an interesting rivalry. So.
Yeah, so Bleacher Report as an app gave that match a C+.
I would say that's about right. C+. The ending
Yeah.
might have pushed it to a B-.
I think the ending brought it to a C+, in my opinion. But
Yeah, it was a little weak before then. It wasn't particularly exciting, for a battle royale match with 21 guys, especially with a lot of the guys they had in there who were very good. It should have been better.
right. Agreed. So, Rolly, any other thoughts?
Not really.
Okay.
There's not
So,
much to say about that
Yeah,
one.
the next match was the unsanctioned Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole. A lot of hype coming into this match.
I'd say it was slightly disappointing as
It
well.
was
Yeah.
underwhelming.
I agree.
It was.
Bleacher Report gave it a C.
I'd say this match was, and I think was the wrong choice by AEW, but I'd say they used this match more to build that rivalry for the future, as opposed to having it end with that because it didn't end with an actual finish. It ended with Chris Jericho being ruled unable to continue
Yeah, it was a really
by
weird
the referee. Which
It just
they
kinda
then
stopped.
Which they then used to push an AEW Dynamite match
Right.
for this Wednesday, which felt really backwards and weird. Because usually you're building to this pay per view, especially since this Double or Nothing is their biggest pay per view of the year.
Right.
It is their most important pay per view.
This
of
and
all
Revolution
four.
are like the two big ones.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most important one of the year, though. I mean, this is like their flagship pay per view, and it felt like they were building towards something else with that rivalry, which just felt, I don't know, it felt backwards to me. The match itself was, I mean, it was good. It just wasn't particularly
you know what
great.
you didn't mention, Rolly. Give us your thoughts in 10 seconds on Sabu, the special enforcer.
Oh yeah.
Up on the mic, please.
He is genocidal, homicidal, and suicidal.
Yeah.
So, and he hit some people with chairs.
He wasn't there very long.
Yeah, he went.
Yeah. He hit with a chair a couple times, and that
The
was
match itself was only like 12 minutes, I think, and
He jumped on somebody through a table.
yeah, and it just everyone outside the ring is really the exciting part about that match is not just the two guys in the ring, it's the guys outside of it too, because you had Roderick Strong who debuted I think a couple weeks ago, Sabu on Adam Cole's side, but then you have the whole Jericho Appreciation Society too. But it felt like everyone kind of meandered away very fast, and then you had Saraya come out.
The Britt Baker appearance was the only good
Yeah,
part of that match to me.
that was good, but they also just used that as a way to make the Dynamite match on Wednesday. So
Right.
a mixed tag match.
But yeah, it just kind of ended. It was just weird.
Just a little bit disappointing.
So
The pay-per-view picked up after this point, though.
well, here's coming up. Well, I thought the next match was the weakest men's match, which was the World Tag Team match, FTR versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. I didn't like this match at all.
I thought it was I thought the actual wrestling was good, but nobody cared about Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. That's the biggest problem. I thought, because FTR, any match they're in is going to be at least somewhat good, because they're, if not the best, one of the best tag teams in the world, and they're very entertaining. They know how to make people care about their matches, and I enjoyed the actual match, but nobody cared about the other team involved. So
Yeah, Bleacher Report gave it a C+.
yeah, that's I'd say it was better than the first two, just because FTR put on their normal show, and I think they're amazing, but
I have to cut in here for a second. It is so glorious to watch the Celtics take an absolute dump on their home court
yeah,
in Game 7. I mean, even with three of the top refs ever in the NBA. I mean, we have the dynamic
literally
trio,
the worst trio you
John
could have,
Coble, Tony Brothers,
and Scott Foster, crew
I mean,
chief.
that is like the trifecta of terror in the NBA, and the three of them couldn't engineer. Adam Silver, Skeletor's love child, is at the game.
I mean, Mike
and they
Muscala is
couldn't
in the
engineer
game.
it.
They have Mike Muscala and Luke Cornett in the game with 2 minutes left. They've given up. Their season's over with 2 minutes left
See,
in
I
the
thought
game.
Muscala was still on witness protection in Oklahoma City.
Now they're trying to full court press with their all white guy lineup and Grant Williams.
I mean, where are all the Boston fans going? This is what you wanted, right?
yeah.
Is Jaylen Brown crying?
He has, Jaylen Brown, 8 turnovers. Miami's whole team, 7 turnovers.
Nice. Well, it's just glorious to watch them, like I said, take a big old dump on their home court. So anyway, moving on to the next match. This is where I thought it picked up. The ladder match between Wardlow and Christian Cage.
Great match. Great spots.
It started a little weak for like a minute or two.
But it picked up
but
real
then
fast.
it picked up quick. Yeah, and I mean, the highlight of the match, definitely Wardlow doing...
Oh, this match had the most insane spot of any match on the card.
Yeah.
Wardlow went full out. I mean, he's obviously very, very good. I don't think there's no debating anymore that Wardlow's one of the top stars in the company at this point, and he proved that he deserved that billing with his performance, because Christian at this point in his career can't do everything. He can't. Obviously, there's still a lot of stuff he can do. He's a very good wrestler. He's very smart, very experienced, but he needs a guy like Wardlow to take some of the bigger spots and to make the matches, what they need to be on a pay-per-view like this. And Wardlow delivered that, I mean, perfectly. The spot was great.
Right.
I mean, he sold well. The ending was good. I thought it was a great match all throughout.
What were you going to say, Ro?
I think him jumping off the ladder was the best part about that pay-per-view.
It was right up there.
It was definitely up there. I'd say it was the best single moment, but I don't think it was the best part of the pay-per-view. We're going to get to the rest of it in a second.
Yeah.
I think that was amazing.
So,
Yeah, it was definitely an incredible spot. Plus, he did a little ode to the Hardys there
Yeah.
I mean,
before jumping.
Bleacher Report gave the match a C.
What?
And then they rated the next match, which was the Hater Tony Storm match, a B minus.
Yeah, that's
So I doubt the
Bleacher
validity
Report's
of these
stupid,
ratings.
So
So the next men's match was the trios match, House of Black
That was good.
versus the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass.
it was a good match.
It was good. They gave it a C plus. Their ratings are tough.
Yeah,
I mean, they got some hard raters here.
Well, Bleacher Report's stupid. I wouldn't call it hard. I'd call it dumb. But I thought that match was good. The problem with the way they did it, is there was no build-up, open challenge. But the Acclaimed are fan favorites, and the House of Black is very well liked also. They have,
Yeah, the AEW didn't explain the rules real well.
yeah, that was another problem. But once we got going in this match, it was good. It was exciting. They had Anthony Bowens in the ring for a long time. Like, he was...
But what about when the Acclaimed called out somebody on WWE?
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
The Dominic Mysterio call out was great because Buddy Matthews, a member of the House of Black, is real life dating Rhea Ripley of WWE, and there was a shout out to the whole mommy storyline
because
over.
we were all watching, but when he said Dominic, we all snapped to attention.
It was
like,
hilarious.
Whoa!
Yeah, that was a great line.
It's like, I wonder if Tony Khan's in the back going, yes.
Yeah.
Or he's back there going, come on, guys, don't do that.
Well, they're
Don't do
allowed.
that.
No, they're definitely allowed to call out WWE. It just has to be something that's actually like worth calling them out for, and that was funny enough to where I think even WWE would get a laugh out of that one.
Well, Triple H probably did.
Yeah.
Vince was probably
not.
lost a whole night of sleep, which
Yeah.
at his age, there's not many nights left. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Ain't that the truth?
But yeah, I thought this was a good match. It's I mean, anytime you bring out somebody with the name Daddy Ass,
Yeah.
it's just like I said, it's like a Seinfeld episode or something. But
Good old Billy Gunn.
yeah,
But I thought it was solid. I mean, I love watching Malachi Black wrestle. I think he's one of the best in the world.
it does say on Bleacher Report's top moments of the match. The first two are Caster obliterated Matthews on the mic with a pre-match rap lyric referencing Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley, and then "Who's Your Mama" chants broke out when Matthews was in the ring. So great moments.
Yeah.
Malachi Black is one of my favorite finishers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
All of wrestling.
Black Mass is great. The way they finished it was great. Billy Gunn didn't tag into the match until the very end, and then he got hit with the Black Mass to finish it. I thought it was a good, solid
Yeah.
match. It obviously wasn't anything to write home about, but it was very solid all throughout. It kept me engaged.
All right, so we moved past the next match, which was the Jade Cargill disaster, which
For the TBS
this really
championship.
makes me go, Bleacher Report, you guys suck. They gave it a B.
Yeah.
That match was like, if B means F.
Yeah,
then
that match was horrendous.
Horribly, everything. The next match then was the penultimate match of the night, the four-way match for the World Championship. And they give this one an A+.
A plus.
Yes,
A
this
plus
was great.
plus. Great match. Amazing. It made the whole pay-per-view worth watching. If that was the only match on the pay-per-view, it would have been worth watching. Actually, if the last two matches were the only matches on the pay-per-view, it would have been worth watching. Because I think they were both A pluses for their own reasons. But this one, absolute A plus. They gave every guy their moment to shine, and they made the correct booking decision at the end, which was giving MJF the title back. Because it would have been the wrong choice to give any of the other three guys the title right now, and here's why. Because then you're basically picking one of them over the other. MJF has been the top guy. He has his moment in the limelight right now. You can't take that away from him to give it to one of the other guys, especially since that would mean the two of the other guys still haven't had their moment. And
Right.
it just wouldn't have been right to pick one of those three over the other right now. It was just the best decision, and the way they did it was great. MJF cheated, but in a slick way. It was funny. He injured two guys with one cheat. So,
Right.
a very MJF win, but I thought the match was amazing. The 4-man submission where they were all submitting each other at the same time. That was a great spot. My favorite spot was when they all hit the finisher of their mentor.
Yes.
So we had the
It even mentions
Crossroads.
that.
Yeah, Crossroads by MJF, Scorpion Death Drop by Darby.
Said you had a frog splash for
Yeah,
2.
Frog
Where
Splash.
Sammy nodded to Eddie Guerrero.
Well, but he also did the Code Breaker from Jericho.
Yeah, did the
And
yeah.
then
What did Jungle Boy do?
he did the Kill Switch from
Oh,
Christian.
yeah.
So yeah, they all hit their mentors' moves. Obviously, Sting, Cody Rhodes, Jericho, and then Christian. So I thought that was a great moment. That the match was really well choreographed. I think those guys I'm guessing all 4 of those guys really like each other and they really know each other well. Because they've all been at the company since 2019 now. So I thought it was great. I thought it was a perfect version of what that match should have been.
Right.
So
Well, yeah, by this time in the night, they were all dropping some F-bombs.
yeah.
And just letting it loose.
Well,
which
there was the
I think
MJF
it's funny because it's a pay-per-view.
Yeah, well, there was the the last match had the most F-bomb
Well, yeah,
because
that
of
one
one
definitely.
man.
We'll get to that.
But the MJF where Darby reversed one of his moves and then hit as Darby was in midair about to hit the stunner, MJF yells, "What the fuck?" And then he hits the stunner on him. Great moment.
Well, it does say that MJF going up the ramp said, "I'm getting bored," to everyone after he won, going back up the ramp, and he said imploring AEW officials to find him more competition.
Well, he never wrestles.
Yeah,
He wrestles
He's now
like
3-0 on the year.
Yeah, he's wrestled 3 times. It's May. It's the end of May. I think he should wrestle more. I don't like when they have champions that are just untouchable. WWE.
Right.
But I think wrestling champions are the best kind of champ. Like a champion who constantly wrestles. Because when Darby had the TNT title, he wrestled every week on Dynamite. So
Right.
Yeah, that was Cody too. When he had a
Yeah.
We
The
can't
TN
hear you, Ro. You're not on the mic.
When Cody had it, that's what he did. He wrestled every week.
Well, that's the history of the TNT title. Is the champion has always been a workhorse
Right.
for the AEW.
So then the last match was Anarchy in the Arena, which Bleacher Report gave it a C. I'm like,
Whatever.
I don't know. I mean, if the one before it's an A+, I would give this one an A. It's not like that's a shit rating or it sucks compared to the one before it. I only give it an A just because I didn't like the way it ended. It was just kind of bringing the other guy out. Okay, I get it. He's known and, former friend of Omega and all that stuff. It didn't land to me.
Well, I think they were just trying to. Again, this
But that was
pay-per-view.
one little
I know.
moment.
This pay-per-view just felt like a setup to the next pay-per. I mean, obviously in wrestling, everything is a setup to the next thing. But this whole thing, except for the 4 Pillars match and a couple other parts, felt like they were just trying to set up the next thing instead of enjoying what they were doing now. Like the Anarchy in the Arena, the actual match was great, but yeah, the ending, they're just trying to set up the Blackpool Combat Club to be dominant, which they already had dominant members. They already have a world champion or a former world champion. They have Danielson who constantly challenges for stuff like that. Wheeler Yuta's getting a huge push. I mean, it's just like I don't understand why.
Let him get the pin. I was like, okay.
Well, yeah, that's a guy they every report that's ever come out about him is that they love him. Like they think because I mean they put him on the fast track when they put him in the Blackpool Combat Club because he had wrestled a couple matches on Dark, and then he had wrestled a couple matches. He joined Best Friends, and then after a couple matches left Best Friends to go join the Blackpool Combat Club, which was being pushed as one of the top things in AEW already with Danielson and Moxley and at that time William Regal. But now it's like they put him on the fast track. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a champion before the end of the year, just with the way he's been pushed so far.
Right. Some of the last comments that the Bleacher Report review said about this, again, giving it a C, which I think is bullshit, but they said, if you like deathmatch wrestling or were a big fan of the Attitude Era brawls that dominated the late 90s, you probably thought this was awesome. Or if you were a fan of the guys involved. It said, it would be easier for others to appreciate and acknowledge the value of it if they were not fed it every week by a company that is often to turn to gimmicky matches, sometimes for no apparent rhyme or reason.
But this did have rhyme or reason because this match had been built up for at least a month and a half because the Elite and Blackpool Combat Club have hated each other for a while. This match made sense It needed to be anarchy because they don't like each other.
Right.
Why would they not just beat the shit out of each other? That makes perfect sense in my eyes. This couldn't have just... What were they going to do? Just a normal 8-man tag match where they've got, one guy in the ring at a time and they've got 3 guys standing outside? That doesn't make sense. Moxley doesn't wrestle matches like that. That's
Right.
not... Omega doesn't wrestle matches like that. That's not
I
the
loved it
MO
'cause,
for these guys.
Yeah, they had the barbed wire.
If you look
they had
at
the tacks.
if you look at the guys in this match, none of them do matches like that. I mean, you go back to Daniel Bryan's time in WWE, he's doing shit like the strap match with The Fiend. He's made for stuff like this. Claudio Castagnoli, he does matches like this. He's always been known as that kind of guy.
Right.
Wheeler Yuta, ever since he joined the Blackpool Combat Club, he's like the rough and tough kind of guy now. And then like Omega does shit like that. That's Moxley's whole MO. Hangman is, I guess, coming back with this new angrier character. So
Right. Taking off the
and the Young Bucks
eye
love to do,
patch.
and the Young Bucks are just 2 crazy motherfuckers. So
Yeah.
why would they not?
Seeing Matt get, pile drive into the
Yeah.
back of a pickup truck and then get his bare foot,
Yeah.
his heel completely covered in thumbtacks.
Well, that was after the exploding kick.
Yeah.
Where he put explosives on his heel and then
Yes.
kicked Moxley. I thought this match was great. I thought with the guys involved, like if you're doing a match with 8 different guys, like if you've got like guys who don't normally do these kinds of matches, then yeah, sure. But if you look at the guys in this match, this kind of match made perfect sense. It didn't feel gimmicky. It felt like this is what they should be doing. Because at the end of the day, if they had booked a regular 8-man tag match, what the hell do you think was going to happen anyway? They were going to end up brawling. So why not just have them brawl from the start? Why not just have them go full into it and make the crowd the crowd was dead the whole time. I think that hurt some of these matches a lot. The crowd in Vegas was very, very dead.
Oh, yes.
Until the 4 Pillars match. People loved the 4 Pillars match in Vegas, and they loved this match. So I think this match, you have to look at the crowd, and I think the crowd loved this match. So I thought it was a great match.
The crowds were cheering for like all the heels the entire time. It didn't make sense.
The crowd wasn't cheering for anybody for a while. The crowd was bad, very bad crowd.
Yeah, they were dead. I mean, it was like a normal SmackDown or Dynamite type crowd night. It
felt worse than that.
It took moments. It took big moments for them to be like, "Oh, that's right, we're wrestling. We're supposed to cheer."
I mean, it felt like they barely cheered when Wardlow jumped off the ladder. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I will say I just looked at. I saw something about Jamie Hayter, an injury. It said she was injured, just recently before the match in there, and they almost canceled it because she has a right arm injury, and they concluded it the way they did so that she could protect her arm. I was like, okay.
I thought that was a fake injury.
I wasn't watching with that context, but
I thought that was a fake injury to go along with the storyline.
Right. No, they said she's actually injured. I guess that's partly why they took the title off her. So maybe to give her some time to recuperate. But anyway, I mean, I thought watching it from home, it had weak moments, but not so many that I'm not happy that we got it. I was happy to have watched it. I thought it was a good time. It was a good pay-per-view. I do agree with you. I think they were doing too much setup. Like it was just some sort of, oh, hey, on a special night, AEW, for some of it. But then by the time they got near the end, it was like, okay, this feels like, I mean, because I always think back to when they had whatever that event was, it was one of the Jacksonville ones when they were on the football field. I don't remember what they called it, but that pay-per-view was awesome start to finish. This one was definitely not that. I thought the pay-per-view earlier this year that Rolly and I watched, was that Full Gear?
That was
In
Revolution. Revolution
Okay.
always at the start.
Revolution was much better.
The next pay-per-view, it goes Revolution, Double or Nothing, All Out, and then Full
Gear's last,
Gear, yeah.
like in November.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this was not their best effort, but I think by the time it did ramp up as the night went on. And I mean, the crowd went up with it, but the crowd, I mean, if I go to a pay-per-view, whether it's WWE, AEW, whatever, I'm going to be ramped up the whole night because
Yeah,
I'm there to see a damn good night. Titles contested in at least half the matches, all that stuff.
The crowd was pissing me off because they were just dead the whole time.
Right. And
That does affect the matches. The wrestlers respond to whatever
Sure.
the crowd does. That's their whole job.
well,
So
because
if the
FTR
crowd
was
is
trying
dead,
to pump the crowd
yeah,
up the whole
that's
match.
what FTR is great at, and it was just not working.
And I will say it's sad may not be the right word, but it's a bit sad that the day before the lunch night of champions from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, I mean, granted, that's that crowd. They were way more into their event.
Well, that's also because
than the
they
AEW
don't
event
ever.
was.
They only get
Well,
the
no, that's
one.
what I say.
or-
I get it's not apples to apples, but
yeah, they
I
were. That
loved
crowd was
their energy.
That crowd was alive.
yes, their energy was awesome.
That was a great. That crowd in Saudi Arabia was great. They
Yes.
loved having them there.
And also, just a minor, call it a nitpick. It was almost like the entrances for people last night in Double or Nothing. Did they go a little cheap on the budget? There wasn't like a lot of big flashy pyro or
Yeah.
I mean, they've hauled the band out for the Moxley match, and I liked that
Well,
they
Jade
did
Cargill had dancers.
the super kick on the. Yeah, I mean, they had some of that, but it was just kind of like, okay, is that the best we can do? I mean, so I'm not saying it was horrible. It just, again, it felt like a slightly stepped up version of a weekly event. It didn't feel like, okay, we're stepping up 5 notches.
Until
it
the
was
end.
like we're stepping up 1 notch.
I think at the end it really stepped up
I agree.
a couple more. I think the Four Pillars match was, I mean, if you look back at the history of AEW, I think that's gonna be one of the best. That's got to be looked at as one of the best matches ever, just because of the people involved, what it means to the company.
Right.
That those 4 guys who were all homegrown for AEW could really be in a match like that and carry a pay-per-view like that.
And they were all very skilled.
Now, I wish Hangman could have been in that match too, because he is really the 5th pillar if you look at AEW.
Right.
But they have to put him back with the fucking Elite. Don't get me started on that. Now, with
We
the Anarchy
won't.
in the Arena thing, that's the only thing that pisses me off is that he's back with the Elite now. Because I still think in AEW's history, the best rivalry that has ever happened is Hangman versus Omega. Because it was built up for literally a year and a half before it actually happened. They were tag partners. They won the AEW Tag Team Champions. They were great champions, but you could slowly start to see the cracks for them. They finally split up. They lost the titles. They split up. They didn't like each other anymore. And then AEW, every time you thought we were finally going to get Omega versus Hangman, we didn't get it. And then we finally got it, and it was great. But it built up. I think it's the greatest rivalry in AEW history. Of course, short history. But the fact that they're now back together in the Elite just... It's a little disappointing to me. But
Right.
I understand that's how wrestling works. You know, we have to have a short memory for a lot of these things. Because, you know, Chris Jericho was a face for like a month. And then he's back to being a heel. So,
Now that AEW is officially 4 years old.
yeah.
So, okay. So, Rolly, any final thoughts on that event?
No, not really. It was really good overall.
Yeah. Okay. So, Rolly's happy he got a PS5 today. So,
Yeah.
now he and his brother both have one. They can be
It's
on
not
the
like he
same
can
level.
use it. He doesn't know
So,
his password.
Roland said he does not have a rant or a hant. Carson, you got a rant for us? Sure he does. Come on.
Celtics fans suck. Actually, NBA fans in general suck. There were Heat fans calling to get Spoelstra fired after Game 6.
Oh,
so,
please.
yeah, I hate
I'm
NBA
sure they've
fans.
shut
They're
up
the
now.
worst. All NBA fans for every team. They're even Grizzly fans that I hate because they're just so stupid. But
Fire Taylor.
yeah, it was, fire Jenkins or, we need to get rid of Ja now, or it's just all this shit, and I'm tired. I hate NBA fans so much. They're the worst. They're the worst fans of any sport. I just hate NBA fans, especially the ones on Twitter. That's my rant.
Right.
And remember your passwords.
Thank you for dropping that one in there. So, I don't really have a big rant, but I will say that just a thought. It's a little bit of a rant, but it's not directed at any one. it just made me think of it. I was at a gathering yesterday, and people weren't doing this at this gathering, but it reminded me of like a gathering I had been to a few weeks back. And it's kind of like when you go to somebody's house and it's like they're hosting and they have, food out for people or they're grilling or whatever. And, there's different like chip trays and dip trays and things like that out. It's at an event I went to a few weeks ago. What drives me crazy is when you have somebody who's just constantly they're going up to the spread, let's call it that, the spread, and they're just like slowly picking through everything. They're just selecting every little bit that's, or they're sort of like, they're just sort of looking at stuff, and it's like slowly like, you could just see them taking a little spoon and sampling everything as they walk through. It's like, hurry the fuck up and get out of the way.
This is the most you rant I have ever heard.
I've got a lot of me rants.
This is the most you rant I think I've ever heard.
Why is it the most me rant?
It just feels exactly like something you would say.
Because it's when you're at something like that, it's like being at any buffet
only
line.
You.
Hurry the fuck up.
Only you would notice that.
Well,
only you would sit there and watch someone do that.
Because
and
when
say,
you take longer than you
should. What
should.
the fuck are you doing up there?
Think of it this way. You're at a buffet restaurant. So hang on, let me finish this thought.
Oh yes, please finish.
Imagine you're at a buffet restaurant, or like I usually would. I remember you used to see this a lot at like hotels when I was business traveling more. Is when you have the usual stuff out, breakfast stuff. You've got your scrambled eggs, you got your sausage, you got your bacon, you got French toast sticks, biscuits, whatever. It's not like it's 50 different pieces of cuisine. We're talking 7 or 8 things. And there'd always be the one jerk off in line who would sit there and like portion out their scrambled eggs. Take the spoon, get a spoonful, and then they get like half a spoonful, then they put like a quarter of it back, and it's like, just take it. Put it on the fucking plate and move on. God damn. This is so stupid watching you do this. And there's like 10 people with plates in hands behind you. We all got jobs to do. Get the fuck out of the way. So at a dinner buffet, it's not the same thing in that you're like, well, you're all there for dinner. Or this is a party. Whatever. Yeah. It doesn't matter. If you don't get the portion size you like, so what? You can come back. That's the beauty of it. You can go through again. It's not a once and you're done. Come back. Don't make everybody wait on your fucking selectiveness. That's it. You guys made it longer.
That was a little rant.
You made it to be like, oh, this is a dad rant.
This is you. It's a you rant.
Okay, so it's not an old man rant.
No, it's a Paul Scott rant.
Okay. Well,
I just want to
not letting your brother forget about passwords. That's a you rant too.
Yeah, I know, because it pisses me off when people can't remember their passwords.
Yes.
Before we get off, I just want to say that Caleb Martin almost won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP award. He lost it by 1 vote to Jimmy Butler. Caleb Martin,
undrafted,
got 4 votes.
University of Nevada.
He got 4 out of 9 votes for Eastern Conference MVP. Eastern Conference Finals MVP.
He was cooking the Celtics tonight. I mean, cooking them.
He scored 26, I think.
Yes.
I mean, this is not a rant. This is it makes me happy. All the NBA analysts after Game 3, oh man, the Celtics, their season just ruined by this whole thing. By the time Game 5 was over and it's 3-2,
Celtics are winning this series.
Celtics are coming back to win this thing, man. Here it comes after Game 6. Oh, I got the Celtics big tonight. Celtics are going to close it out. First team to ever come back from it.
And they lose by 20.
Game, they're all like, oh man, I just knew the Heat had this. The Heat were just a more determined team the whole series, but shut the fuck up. You didn't know.
We're going to give them the results.
None of us knew. The Heat didn't even know.
You don't.
You don't.
You don't.
They don't. The Heat didn't know.
I've seen
the
you
Celtics
sit there.
didn't know.
I've seen you sit there at the kitchen table and say, I know, I
Thank
know,
you,
I
Brad
know.
Pitt.
And when
God.
it comes to your son, I know. But you don't.
Okay.
You don't know.
And on that note, we'll laugh track and close it out. So thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.